I always knew that trust was a fragile thing, but I never expected to watch mine shatter over a single, careless detail, a detail so small, so insignificant, that she never even considered it might be her undoing. It wasn't lipstick on a collar or a suspicious text message. It wasn't the sudden late nights or the fake enthusiasm when I asked about her day. No, it was far simpler than that. It was the way she said his name. Not in passion, not in a hushed whisper over the phone when she thought I wasn't listening, though I'm sure those moments existed. No, it was how she said it absent-mindedly, in a conversation about something completely unrelated. We were having dinner, and she was scrolling through her phone, half listening as I talked about the logistics of our upcoming move overseas. That was our plan, her idea, actually, to leave behind everything, to start fresh in a place where we could reconnect. Or at least, that's what she made me believe. And then, as I was outlining the final steps for our departure, she nodded absently, took a sip of her wine, and said, "Yeah, that sounds good." That's what Daniel said too. Daniel. I let it slide in the moment. I didn't flinch, didn't react, just stored the information away like a data point in an algorithm that had suddenly revealed an anomaly. Daniel. There was no Daniel in our lives. At least, not one who should have an opinion on our move. And yet, she said it so naturally, so effortlessly, that it told me everything I needed to know. The name had woven itself into her subconscious, into the fabric of her daily thoughts, slipping out as easily as breathing. I watched her closely for the rest of dinner, observing the way she continued the conversation, utterly unaware of the bomb she had just dropped. She had no idea that, in a single second, I had seen through the entire illusion. But I didn't accuse her. I didn't lash out or demand answers. That's what she would have expected. That's what every weak, betrayed man in her mind would do. Instead, I smiled, nodded, and poured her another glass of wine. Because now I had confirmation. And I never act without confirmation. That night, while she was asleep, I became a ghost in my own house. Silent. Invisible. I retrieved her phone from the nightstand with the precision of a surgeon and unlocked it with the passcode I'd seen her enter 100 times before. Scrolling through her messages, I found him immediately. Daniel. A name that now carried the weight of a guillotine. Their messages were buried under layers of meaningless conversations, but there it was. A secret language of inside jokes, longing texts, carefully planned rendezvous. She had been careful, no explicit admissions, no damning evidence. But I didn't need it. I knew. More importantly, I knew what I was going to do. I put the phone back exactly as I had found it, then lay beside her, listening to the rhythmic sound of her breathing. The rage never came. No blinding fury, no impulse to wake her and demand an explanation. No, what filled me was something much colder, much sharper. A clarity so precise it felt surgical. She thought she was in control. She thought she had me wrapped around her finger, oblivious to the game she was playing. But she had underestimated me in the worst possible way. The plan formed effortlessly. She wanted a new life? I would give her one. She wanted a fresh start? I would make sure she got one, just not in the way she imagined. I had spent years building my career, my wealth, my connections. Everything in her life, every asset, every luxury she enjoyed had been carefully constructed by me. And now, piece by piece, I would deconstruct her world without her even realizing it. The first step was simple. I would make sure she depended on me entirely. Our move overseas would happen as planned. If anything, I would accelerate it, ensuring she had no time to second-guess. I would convince her that this was the best decision for us, playing the devoted, unsuspecting husband. Once we were there, I would tighten my grip, slowly, methodically. She would find herself in a foreign country with no safety net, no friends, no financial control. And when the moment was right, when she was completely at my mercy, I would pull the rug out from under her so violently that she would never recover. I lay in the dark, the blueprint of her downfall unfolding in my mind like a perfectly calculated equation. She had no idea. No idea that she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. No idea that she was already trapped. She thought she was leaving everything behind for a new adventure. She had no clue that she was walking straight into a prison of her own making. And the best part? By the time she realized it, it would be far, far too late. Mornings in our home always followed the same rhythm. The smell of fresh coffee brewing in the kitchen, the soft hum of the news playing in the background, the sunlight creeping through the half-open blinds, everything was structured, predictable, comforting. I'd wake up first, as always, slipping out of bed carefully so as not to wake her. She liked to sleep in, burying herself under the blankets with a quiet sigh, her hair sprawled across the pillow. I used to love that. Used to think there was something peaceful about watching her in those moments before the day began, before she put on the polished version of herself that the world saw. I'd make breakfast, something light, scrambled eggs, toast, maybe a smoothie if I was feeling ambitious. She'd wander into the kitchen eventually, still wrapped in the oversized hoodie she stole from me years ago, stretching like a cat. She had a habit of resting her head against my shoulder for a few seconds before even saying good morning, a silent gesture that had always made me feel like home to her. At least, that's what I used to believe. We talked about small things, her work, my work, plans for the weekend. It was always easy, effortless. We had been together for years, and in that time, we had built something solid. Not just love, but a partnership. We understood each other's rhythms, our habits, our quirks. She hated grocery shopping, so I did it. I despised doing the laundry, so she handled that. We had our roles, our unspoken agreements, our little inside jokes that had accumulated over the years like layers of sediment. It wasn't a fairy tale, but it was real. Or so I thought. Looking back, I see the signs now, subtle, almost imperceptible at the time, but glaring in hindsight. The way she had started spending more time on her phone, not in the obvious way of someone hiding something, but in the way of someone distracted, lost in another world that had nothing to do with me. The way she had become a little more distant, not pulling away, but just less present. The way she had started dressing differently, not for me, but for someone else. I told myself it was just a phase, that people changed, that relationships went through ebbs and flows. I didn't question it. Because why would I? We had a good life. A great life, even. We traveled, we laughed, we had deep conversations over glasses of wine on the balcony, talking about the future, about our plans, about where we wanted to be in 5 years. She had always been the one with the big dreams, the one pushing for new experiences, for change. When she suggested we move overseas for a few years, I didn't hesitate. She said it would be good for us, a fresh start, a new adventure. I trusted her judgment. I trusted her. But trust is a funny thing. It doesn't break all at once. It erodes. Slowly, silently, piece by piece, until one day you wake up and realize there's nothing left. There had been a moment, weeks before I heard her say his name, when I should have known something was off. We were sitting on the couch, watching some forgettable movie, her legs draped over mine, her phone resting in her lap. She had laughed at something, a notification, a message, and when I asked what was funny, she hesitated. Just for a second. Then she smiled, shook her head, and said, "Oh, just a meme from Sarah." I nodded, not thinking anything of it. But now, I remember that hesitation, that brief flicker of something behind her eyes. A micro-expression, gone too fast to register at the time, but crystal clear in retrospect. A moment of guilt, maybe. A moment where, if I had been paying closer attention, I might have seen the first cracks forming. But I didn't. Instead, I kissed her goodnight, held her close, and fell asleep beside her, oblivious to the fact that she was already slipping away. Life continued as it always had, the same routines, the same rituals. We made dinner together on Sundays. We went out with friends on Fridays. We planned our move, talked about the logistics, joked about how we'd probably get lost in a new city for weeks before finding our bearings. She played the role of the loving wife effortlessly, flawlessly. And I played the role of the man who believed every word. It wasn't an act on my part. I truly believed in what we had. That's what makes the betrayal cut deeper, not just the infidelity itself, but the knowledge that I had been living in a carefully crafted illusion. That every laugh, every touch, every whispered, "I love you," had been part of a script she had written to keep me blind. But blindness is temporary. And now that I could see, I would make sure she never forgot what it felt like to be deceived. It started with a single moment. A small thing. The kind of detail most people wouldn't even notice, the kind of thing that, on its own, means nothing. But I noticed. And once you notice, you can't unsee it. She had always been someone who left her phone anywhere, on the kitchen counter, on the coffee table, face up on the nightstand. She never cared. But one evening, as we sat on the couch, I saw it. A shift. Subtle, but undeniable. Her phone buzzed once, just a short vibration, nothing urgent. But instead of ignoring it the way she always did, she moved fast. Too fast. In one fluid motion, she picked it up, tilted the screen away from me, and locked it before placing it face down beside her. I didn't say anything. Didn't react. Just kept my eyes on the TV, letting the moment hang in the air between us. "Who was that?" I asked casually, taking a sip of my drink. She didn't look at me immediately. Another shift. Just a half-second pause, barely perceptible, but there. "Oh, just Sarah," she said, a little too lightheartedly. "Sarah." Again. I nodded slowly, filing the detail away. "You've been talking to Sarah a lot lately." She laughed, stretching her legs out, making a show of how relaxed she was. "Yeah, she's going through a breakup. She needs someone to vent to." Another small pause. Another flicker of something just beneath the surface. A lie? Maybe. Maybe not. But I wasn't the kind of man to dismiss patterns. I let it go, at least on the surface. But my mind was already working, turning over every little anomaly I'd ignored up until now. Like the way she had started dressing a little differently, not in an obvious way, nothing drastic, just small things. New lingerie I hadn't seen before. Perfume she never used around me. The way she spent more time getting ready when she went out, even if it was just with the girls. Like the way she had started answering calls in another room. She never used to do that. It was never a big deal before. If she got a call while we were in the living room, she'd answer it right there, on speaker sometimes, not thinking twice. Now I'd hear her phone ring and she'd casually say, "I'll be right back," before slipping into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. Like the way she had started being nicer. Not in a loving way, not in the way you'd expect from a woman in a happy marriage. No, it was something else. Forced. Calculated. Like she was overcompensating. More compliments than usual, more random affection, more, "I love you," whispered against my neck at night. At first, I told myself I was imagining it. But when someone is guilty, when they're hiding something, they do one of two things. They either grow cold and distant, or they smother you with affection to ease their own guilt. And she wasn't pulling away. She was trying too hard. That night, after she fell asleep, I lay awake beside her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her slow, even breathing. She was lying to me. I didn't have proof. Not yet. But I didn't need proof to trust my instincts. Some men panic when they suspect something is wrong. They confront, they accuse, they demand answers. But that's the difference between me and them. I don't act on impulse. I don't let emotions cloud my judgment. No. I gather information. I observe. And when the time is right, I strike. Because if she thought she could outmaneuver me, she had no idea what kind of man she was dealing with. Trust is a delicate thing. It takes years to build, moments to shatter, and once broken, it never returns in its original form. What I had now wasn't trust, it was confirmation waiting to be revealed. I didn't need to guess anymore. I knew. The only question was how deep the betrayal ran and how far she thought she could go before I noticed. So I did what any rational man would do. I started watching. Not obviously. Not in a way that would make her suspicious. No, I played it smart. I continued being the same husband she thought she knew, the man she believed was too comfortable, too trusting to ever suspect a thing. But behind that facade, I analyzed every move, every word, every inconsistency. The first real test came on a Friday night. She had mentioned earlier in the week that she'd be having dinner with Sarah again. That name was starting to feel like a running joke, but I didn't laugh. Instead, I played my role. "Sounds nice," I said casually. "Where are you guys going?" She hesitated. Barely a second, but long enough. "That new place downtown, Alba, I think it's called?" I nodded, making a mental note. "I heard it's great. Maybe we should go there together sometime." "Yeah," she said, too quickly. "Yeah, we should." That night, I waited. She got ready, a little more effort in her outfit than usual, her makeup just a touch more polished. She kissed me on the cheek as she left, her perfume lingering in the air. I didn't say anything, didn't ask questions. Just smiled and told her to have fun. 15 minutes after she walked out the door, I picked up my phone and checked her location. The thing about technology is that most people think they're smarter than it. She had turned off her location sharing with me a month ago, a red flag I had noted but hadn't reacted to. What she hadn't realized, however, was that our home security system automatically logged when her phone connected to our Wi-Fi and when it disconnected. And tonight, at the time she supposedly left for dinner, her phone had stayed connected for another 10 minutes. She had waited. In the car, maybe. Making sure I wouldn't suddenly decide to follow her. I pulled up the restaurant's website, checked their reservation system. I knew the owner. A quick text, casual, nothing suspicious. "Hey man, just curious, how's business tonight? Thinking of bringing my wife there this weekend." His reply came fast. "Busy as hell, but tell me when you want to come. I'll make sure you get a table. You guys will love it." I smiled. He had no idea he had just given me another piece of the puzzle. If the restaurant was packed, they'd have reservations locked. So I asked, did my wife and her friend Sarah book a table tonight? A pause. Then, don't see that name on the list. But walk-ins are coming in too. You want me to check with the host? I told him not to worry about it. That was all I needed. She wasn't at Alba. She had never planned to be at Alba. I put my phone down and stared at the clock. Every minute that passed made it clearer she was somewhere else. With someone else. And she thought I was sitting at home, blissfully unaware. I didn't text her. Didn't call. Let her have her night. Let her believe her lie was airtight. When she finally came home hours later, I was on the couch, a book in my hands, looking as relaxed as ever. Hey, how was dinner? She smiled, setting her purse down. It was great. We had some wine, caught up. Sarah's finally getting over her breakup, so that's good. I nodded. That's nice. She kissed me, soft, natural. If I didn't know better, I'd have believed she was exactly where she said she was. But I knew better. And now, it was just a matter of time before I proved it. It happened on a Tuesday. An ordinary day, no different from any other. I woke up, went through the motions, kissed her goodbye as she left for work, and sat down in my office with my coffee, my mind already running through the tasks of the day. But somewhere, deep beneath the surface, I knew. I had known for days now, weeks maybe. I had known from the moment her phone turned face down, from the moment her location disappeared, from the moment she spoke his name without thinking. I had known, but knowing and proving were two different things. And today, I was about to prove it. It wasn't planned. I didn't set out that morning thinking I would find what I was looking for. But life has a way of handing you the truth when you least expect it. It started with a simple task, looking for an old email buried in our shared laptop. She rarely used it, mostly relying on her phone, so I hadn't bothered to check it before. But today, as I scrolled through the inbox, something caught my eye. A message, half buried under spam, marked with a name I didn't recognize, Daniel Carter. My pulse slowed. Not quickened, slowed. Because in that moment, my brain sharpened, locked onto the target with the precision of a predator about to strike. I clicked. The email opened. Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. Wish I could wake up next to you instead of sneaking off like this. Call me when you can. Can't wait to see you again. No signature. No dramatic confessions. Just a simple, casual email. The kind two people exchange when what they're doing has become routine. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen, feeling something deep and sharp twist inside me. Not heartbreak. Not sorrow. Cold, calculated rage. She had been careful. Deleted messages from her phone, covered her tracks well. But she had made a mistake. One small, stupid mistake. She hadn't logged out of her email. I clicked into the sent folder. Another message to him, timestamped 3 nights ago, the night she was supposedly having dinner with Sarah. I hate sneaking around, but God, you make it worth it. Can't wait for this weekend. Same place? I exhaled slowly, a dark smile creeping at the edges of my lips. Same place. That meant there was a pattern. A routine. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This was planned. I checked the attachments. A picture. Not explicit, but enough. Her reflection in a hotel mirror, a wine glass in hand, wearing the dress I had complimented her on before she went out with the girls. I closed the laptop, my mind already working through the next steps. This was it. The moment where most men break. The moment where they confront, scream, demand explanations. The moment where they lose control. But I was not most men. I would not give her the satisfaction of seeing me unravel. Instead, I did what I always do. I calculated. She had no idea I knew. That was my greatest weapon. She still believed she was in control of the narrative, that she was orchestrating this perfectly, balancing her double life without consequence. Good. Let her believe that. Because if she thought she had outplayed me, she was about to learn exactly what kind of game she had entered. And I don't lose. Revenge is an art. The unskilled act on impulse, reacting with blind rage, throwing fists, screaming accusations, demanding explanations. That's not revenge, that's catharsis. And catharsis is temporary. I wasn't interested in the temporary. I wanted permanence. I wanted something that would stay. Something that would make her regret every stolen glance, every whispered conversation, every night she spent in his arms instead of mine. I wanted her to feel it in her bones. And so, I planned. She thought she was untouchable. She thought she had covered her tracks well, played her role flawlessly. She was so sure she was in control. That was her first mistake. The second? She underestimated me. I studied her. Not in the way a betrayed husband studies his wife, looking for signs of guilt, waiting for the inevitable slip-up. No, I studied her like a hunter studies his prey. I observed what she valued, what she feared, what she would never want to lose. And I found it. Her freedom. She prided herself on being independent, self-sufficient. It was her favorite story to tell people, that she was a woman who had built her own life, made her own decisions, never relied on anyone. But that was a lie. She had relied on me. She had used my resources, my network, my stability to build the illusion of self-sufficiency. I had been the foundation beneath her feet, the silent force that made her confidence possible. And now, I would remove it. The overseas move was already in motion. She had no idea I knew about Daniel, which meant she still believed in our plan, our fresh start, our adventure in a new country where she could reinvent herself, where no one would know what she had done. She thought she was escaping, starting a new life on her terms. But she wouldn't be starting fresh. No, she'd be walking into a trap. I accelerated the timeline, played the devoted, oblivious husband, encouraged her excitement, let her believe I was fully invested in this dream she had crafted. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I was making moves, cutting her off financially without her noticing, transferring joint assets into accounts she couldn't access, ensuring that every single penny she believed she had was under my control. I made sure her name was never on the lease for our new place, that her visa was tied to me, that every official document positioned her not as an independent woman, but as my dependent. And then, I orchestrated the final blow. I let her believe the move was happening as planned. Let her pack her bags, say her goodbyes, dream about her new life. And then, at the last possible moment, I would leave her behind. Picture it. The airport. The gates. The ticket in her hand, her passport ready, believing that in just a few hours, she would be thousands of miles away, free to continue her affair without consequences. And then, the realization. No flight reservation in her name. No money in her accounts. No backup plan. Just an empty bank balance, a canceled visa, and a slow, creeping horror as she understood what had just happened. I would be on that plane. She would not. She would be stranded. Alone. In our old life, but without me, without stability, without resources. Her perfect escape had become a prison, and I wouldn't have to lift a single finger to destroy her. I would simply walk away. Let her call Daniel. Let her try to run to him. Let her see what happens when the man she betrayed me for realizes she's not an upgrade, just a liability. And by the time she understands how badly she's lost, by the time she tries to come crawling back, I will be long gone. In another country, in another life. Better. Stronger. Untouchable. Because that's the thing about revenge. The best kind isn't loud. It's silent. It's surgical. It's irreversible. And she'll never see it coming. Patience is a virtue most men lack when they discover betrayal. They want immediate justice, instant retribution. They want to see their unfaithful wife crumble under the weight of her own lies, watch her stammer and break down when confronted. But I had no interest in giving her an opportunity to lie her way out, to play the victim, to manipulate the narrative. No, I needed precision. I needed her to walk willingly into her own downfall, believing right up until the last second that she was in control. And so, I executed the plan. Every move was calculated, every step designed to leave her with no escape. The overseas move? Still on. I played my part, the doting husband excited for our new adventure. I let her think everything was falling into place perfectly. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I had already begun dismantling her reality. I emptied our joint accounts slowly, strategically. Not enough to alarm her, but enough to ensure that by the time she realized, it would be too late. I left just enough money for her to believe everything was normal. Just enough for her to book our tickets, confirm the movers, finalize the lease on the apartment overseas, an apartment she thought she was moving into with me. I had already been in contact with the landlord, ensuring the lease was only in my name. Her visa application? Filed, but never approved. The paperwork? Altered. She wouldn't know until she tried to board the plane. And the final touch? A beautifully staged message, an email, sent from her account to Daniel the night before the flight, detailing how much she couldn't wait to start this new life with him. The kind of message that could easily be forwarded to someone's wife, if the situation demanded it. Then came the night before the flight. We had dinner, just the two of us, candle lit, wine poured, music low in the background. She was glowing, excited, talking about the new life we were about to have, completely unaware that it was all an illusion. I watched her, every detail of her face, the way she smiled, the way she looked at me, so convinced she had gotten away with it. I played my part. I smiled back. I told her I couldn't wait to start over, just the two of us. That this move would change everything. That we would be free. She had no idea how right I was. The next morning, I let her wake up first. Let her rush around, double-checking our bags, confirming the car to the airport. I let her believe this was her victory. We arrived at the airport in perfect sync, side by side. She kissed me as we checked in, completely unaware that only one of us had a valid ticket. That only one of us was walking away from this moment untouched. Then came the moment I had been waiting for. We approached the security checkpoint. I went first, scanning my ticket. A beep. A green light. Approved. I stepped through, turned, and watched her. She handed over her passport, her ticket. The agent frowned. Tapped the keyboard. Checked again. A flicker of confusion on her face. Then concern. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but your visa application hasn't been approved. You can't board this flight. Silence. For a second, she didn't understand. Then she turned to me, eyes wide, searching for an answer. What? That's impossible. We applied together. I tilted my head, feigning concern. I guess there was a mistake. She turned back to the agent. That doesn't make sense. My husband. And that's when she saw it. The look on my face. That split second when everything clicked in her mind. The moment she realized that this wasn't a mistake. That this was planned. Her face paled. She took a step toward me. Wait, what's going on? I looked at her for a long moment, then leaned in, voice low, almost gentle. I know. 3 words. That was all it took. She stiffened. Panic flashed across her face. She opened her mouth, then closed it, grasping for an excuse, a way out, some desperate attempt to regain control. But there was nothing, because I had taken every option away from her. She started, but I cut her off. I canceled your visa application, moved all the money, transferred the lease. You're not coming with me. Her breath hitched. Her eyes darted around, as if looking for some way to undo what had just happened. You can't just. I already did. A pause. A long, heavy pause as reality settled over her. The airport was full of people, but in that moment, it was just the two of us. Her standing on the wrong side of the security gate, trapped in the life she thought she was escaping. Me? Walking away. I gave her one last look, a slow, knowing smirk. Then I turned and walked toward my gate, leaving her exactly where she deserved to be, alone. By the time she tried to call Daniel, I knew what she would find. A forwarded email. A message his wife had undoubtedly already seen. And just like that, every exit she thought she had was gone. Panic is an interesting thing to witness. It doesn't come all at once. It creeps in, a slow, dawning horror that spreads like ink in water. I saw it in her eyes the moment she realized what had happened. The shock, the confusion, the desperate hope that this was somehow a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. She had been outplayed, and she knew it. She stood frozen at the security gate, gripping her useless boarding pass, her breath coming in short, shallow bursts. She turned, looking wildly between the airport staff and me, like a trapped animal searching for an escape route. Wait, we can fix this. Her voice wavered, but she forced a smile, the same charming expression she had used to manipulate me for who knows how long. There's been a mistake. I just need to make a call. I said nothing. Just watched. She fumbled for her phone, her fingers trembling as she scrolled through her contacts. I knew exactly who she was looking for. Daniel. The man she had risked everything for. The man she believed was waiting for her on the other side of this mess. She called. Once. Twice. No answer. The fake smile faded. Her jaw tightened, her throat bobbed as she swallowed hard. She tried again. This time, the call went straight to voicemail. And then, the real panic began. Her eyes snapped to me. What did you do? I tilted my head slightly, feigning curiosity. Me. You did something. She stopped, her breath hitching as a new possibility struck her. She yanked her phone back up, switching from calls to messages. I already knew what she was seeing. Or rather, what Daniel's wife was seeing. The forwarded email. Her words. Her betrayal. Exposed in perfect detail. Her hand flew to her mouth. No. She started typing frantically, messaging him, her fingers moving too fast, clumsy with desperation. The seconds stretched as she stared at the screen, waiting, praying for a response. And then, the final blow. The gray, delivered marker under her messages suddenly changed. Blocked. Daniel was gone. The man she had risked our marriage for, The man she had built her lies around had just erased her from his life in a single, effortless motion. He had cut her off before she could even beg. I watched the exact moment it sank in. The way her shoulders tensed, the way her face drained of color, the way her body swayed slightly, as if she might collapse under the weight of it all. She had nothing. No escape. No backup plan. No safety net. And then she turned to me, eyes wide, pleading. "We can fix this," she whispered. "Please." I let the silence stretch between us. There was something poetic about this. About watching her crumble under the same helplessness she had so easily condemned me to when she thought I didn't know. When she had whispered to him behind my back. When she had let me hold her at night knowing she belonged to someone else. She had stolen my trust, my peace, my dignity. And now, she had lost all of hers. I exhaled slowly, then smiled. "I think you misunderstood something," I said, my voice calm, even. "There is no we." Tears welled in her eyes. "You don't mean that. You love me." I let out a quiet chuckle. Not cruel. Not mocking. Just amused. "I did." I nodded. And look where that got me. A choked sob escaped her lips. She reached for me, but I stepped back. Just an inch. Just enough to make her understand that she wasn't allowed to touch me anymore. "This isn't fair," she whispered. "I made a mistake." "A mistake?" I arched an eyebrow. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk on the way home. A mistake is leaving your phone at a restaurant. What you did, that was a choice. Repeated. Deliberate. And now, you get to live with it." She shook her head furiously, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I didn't mean to hurt you." That made me laugh. A genuine, deep, dark laugh. "You didn't mean to hurt me?" I repeated. "Tell me, when exactly did that realization hit you? Before or after you checked into hotel rooms with him? Before or after you sent him messages while lying next to me? Before or after you looked me in the eye, kissed me goodnight, and told me you loved me while planning your next meeting with him?" She sobbed harder now, mascara running, her perfect image cracking. The same image she had used to fool me, to fool everyone. I leaned in just slightly, my voice dropping low. "I didn't ruin your life. You did." And then, just like that, I turned and walked away. She called my name once. Twice. But her voice broke on the second one, fading into the noise of the airport. And I kept walking, my ticket in hand, my future completely untouched by her existence. I didn't look back. Not once. Closure isn't something that happens in an instant. It unfolds, piece by piece, as the consequences settle like dominoes falling in perfect sequence. By the time my plane touched down, my past life, the one she had so carelessly shattered, was already crumbling around her. I didn't need to check in on her. I already knew what she was going through. She had no money, no home, no way out. She had nothing. The moment she realized her accounts were empty, she must have felt the first real wave of terror. She had built her confidence on the illusion of independence, convinced herself that she didn't need me, that she could walk away at any time and land on her feet. But she had never truly been independent. She had just been living on borrowed time. Every luxury, every piece of comfort she enjoyed had been my doing. The bank account she thought she had? Closed. The credit card she relied on? Frozen. The apartment she had assumed was waiting for her overseas? Not in her name. And Daniel? He was long gone. She had reached out to him, of course she did. Probably with shaking hands, eyes still wet from the airport scene, desperate to salvage something. But the only thing she found was silence. His wife had seen the email, confronted him, and by the time my ex tried to call, she was already blocked. That must have been the moment she felt true helplessness. She had no one. Her family? They had always adored me. I had made sure of that. When the truth of what she had done reached them, when they saw how calculated her betrayal was, how deep it ran, they turned their backs on her. Not out of malice, but because they were ashamed. Ashamed of the daughter who had thrown away a good man, a good life for a temporary thrill. Her friends? The ones she had confided in, the ones who had covered for her, encouraged her? They scattered like rats from a sinking ship. Some had known about the affair. Others hadn't, and when they found out, they saw her for what she really was. Disloyal. Manipulative. Weak. She had betrayed the one person who had built everything with her, and now that she had nothing left to offer, they moved on without her. She tried to fight it at first. Tried to explain, to justify. It wasn't serious. It was a mistake. I was unhappy. But the problem with lies is that they don't hold up against facts. And the facts were brutal. I had made sure that when she fell, she would do so in full view of everyone she had ever fooled. Her job? She didn't even last a month after I left. The company we both worked for had no use for her anymore. I had always been the one with the real connections, the real influence. Without me, she was just another forgettable employee, disposable. The rumors spread quickly. Affairs always make for good office gossip. Soon enough, she resigned out of humiliation. Not that it mattered. No one respectable would hire her now. And me? I thrived. The life she thought she would have, the adventure, the fresh start, the success, I took all of it with me. I settled into my new home, surrounded by people who respected me, trusted me. I rebuilt, not because I had to, but because I chose to. And when the time was right, I let the world see it. She must have seen the pictures eventually. The new city, the new home, the new woman at my side. Someone younger, smarter, loyal, the kind of woman she could never be. She must have felt it then, the crushing realization that she had not moved on to something better. She had lost everything. And I had only gained. Some say revenge is pointless, that it doesn't fix the past, that it doesn't undo the betrayal. They say the best revenge is moving on, being happy. And maybe, in some cases, they're right. Maybe for some people, the best thing to do is walk away quietly, let karma do the work, trust that life will sort things out. But I don't believe in leaving things to chance. I believe in making sure justice is served. I believe in showing people the consequences of their actions. And I believe that some lessons have to be learned the hard way. She thought she could betray me and walk away unscathed. She thought she could lie, deceive, manipulate, and still land on her feet. She thought she would win. But in the end, who really won? Look at where she is now. Alone. Forgotten. A ghost in the life she thought she would escape. No career. No respect. No future. And Daniel? He was never going to save her. He was never going to choose her. She was nothing more than a side distraction, an afterthought, something he could discard when it became inconvenient. And me? I took everything she wanted. The fresh start. The adventure. The success. I made sure that when people looked at me, they saw a man who didn't just survive betrayal, he mastered it. And the best part? I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to make a scene. I didn't need to beg or fight or lower myself to her level. I let her destroy herself. And that's what makes this the perfect revenge. So now I ask you, what would you have done in my place? Would you have confronted her, demanded answers, given her the chance to twist the truth? Would you have walked away, swallowed the betrayal, and let her keep her dignity? Or would you have done what I did, made sure she never forgot the moment she lost everything?